Hey, hi. We're going to see how many people can guess the costume that I'm going to be doing for the convention based off of my face, my accessories. No, we're going to be weathering this axe. Although if you do guess what I'm going to be, put it in the comments below. But I don't know why I'm being so quiet. I vaguely know why I'm being quiet, but also like why. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to weather this axe because it looked like Garbo right now. It kind of just looks like shitty plastic, for being honest. And we're going to try to make it look like less shitty plastic. So I don't know how much of this is going to be sped up or whatnot. But we're going to do the thing. I hate that these paper towels are just slightly too short. Hold on. There we go. 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 Anywho, first things first, we're going to use this silver paint over the entirety of the thing, and I'm going to do this one half at a time. So what I'm probably going to do is not fast forward through the first half and then fast forward through the second half, because they're going to be nearly identical. But I'm going to throw some silver paint over this. Why, Tori? It's already shiny, because one, it's not very good shiny, and also two, because it's not going to stay shiny. I don't want it to stay shiny. And the silver paint will ironically dull it. And I'm not going to go over it like exceptionally well. I just want it to be gone over enough that it gets dulled. I could clean up all of these edges and whatnot, but I'm going to be honest, I got this kind of as a last minute thing after realizing that I didn't have the weapon. So I might go back over it later and make a better version, or I might just get use one of the tiny hatchets that I have at home and just remove the head and make a clay head, and that would look better, honestly. I just do not have the time for that right now. So we're doing it this way. Boop, 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 boop. I'm gonna get covered in random bits of paint. It's fine. I had to shower anyway. Anyway. One side at a time, she said. Knowing that it was a lie. I have paint palettes. Honestly, since I'm only doing washes, I kind of don't feel like dirtying them. Being honest, I don't really feel like dirtying my paint palettes when I'm only doing washes. Like this wood is weirdly yellow, so it's going to take this brown really, really well. And there's multiple different ways you can do washes and weathering. This is just the way that I've chosen to do it because I can. Mostly, just being honest. Actually, I think I'm going to wet this first. I think I'm going to do it that way instead. I think I've chosen to do it that way instead. And I'm going to work on the handle while the silver on that dries, because that's obviously going to take a longer. Okay, I don't want to do that just yet, but I want to get this brown going. Yeah, just adding that little bit of brown already made it look better, because it was weirdly yellow and I kind of hated it. So, I'm also not concerned about brown getting in the silver because I'm going to add just layers and layers of rust. Because this is supposed to be the old Hatchet. A lot of people give him 2 hatchets, and like, I don't blame them because he does have 2 hatchets at one point in the story. But he also gets rid of one of them, like, in the story, canonically. He does, like, just get rid of one of them. I know technically you're supposed to wait for each layer to dry, but I don't have time for that. I would love to say that I did, but I don't. So I'm just going to keep working and, you know, pretend it's fine. Yeah, so a lot of people give him 2. I tend to only give him 1 very specifically because he does lose the newer one in this, like, in the story. He very specifically loses the newer one. So I figure it makes more sense to only give him the 1. Oh, hey. That's a little concerning. Okay. Well then. Don't particularly like that. Anywho. Since you was already wet. Tori, you could really easily screw it up by doing that. I don't particularly care. So here's the thing. The dirtier and grimier this looks, probably, like, kind of the better. We're going for old, dirty, been used a little bit too long. And yeah, right now it looks ridiculously dark. A lot of that's going to go away once I wipe. Need a better place to put my brushes. As long as you don't fall out of the cup, we're good. So I'm trying to make sure the base area stays a little darker because that's where, well, he would be holding it. And thus that's where it would stay grimier. I might throw more brown in. Ah, man, the silver wasn't dry yet. I didn't put a thick layer of silver on there. You should be dry by now. Rude. Oh well. I'll just grab this little one and erase the fingerprint. Alrighty. Yeah, that is a little bit too black, which is okay, because I can literally just add a little more brown. And this time I'm only going to put a little droplet up there. And then use this and pull it down. I might actually only record me doing one half, for the simple fact that this half has to dry before I can do the other half. And the other half is exactly the same, so like there's no reason to record both. The only thing that's going to be slightly different is the paint splatter, or the blood splatter. which I guess in this case is paint splatter, but also like... Okay. The back is where it's gonna stay probably the most, like, not bad. Because usually right around the edges of the handle is where rust builds up, and right along the top, or right along the tip. And especially if it's not being, like, sharpened and tended to and whatever. So we're going to put most of the grime down here. Don't do that. And it's just going to lightly go up it. Should probably pull up some references of rusty hatchets, huh? That would probably help. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It's always the worst right around the handles. Or right around the edge of the handle. Okay. So that's basically exactly what I thought it was. Turns out, didn't really need a huge amount of reference for that. No. I'm going to watch you, but later. Alright. Now we're going to take a little bit of this red and a little bit of this brown and probably a little bit of this black. And we're just going to make a bunch of rust colors. That'll be fun, right? Maybe add a little bit of the silver just so it's nicer. Yeah. Do I have any random little slices of plastic that I can put these on? No. Oh well. Oh well. I guess I'll just have to do it on the paper towel then. Not ideal, but, you know, not the worst thing I've ever done. Especially since I don't need a huge amount of it, and this acrylic paint isn't particularly watery. It'll just be a little harder to mix. Which is fine, because I kind of want it slightly uneven. I want to add a little bit of this silver, mostly because I want the metallics. Do I have a slightly bigger brush? There's one. Yeah, see, the silver didn't do a huge amount except turn this brown into copper, which is kind of what I was hoping for. There we go. And again, this isn't going to be the best weathering job. I'm literally just trying to make it look less like shitty plastic. That is the goal. I want to take some of this rust and kind of trail it down the handle a little. As rust is wont to do. Now I want to keep it a little bit cleaner in the front, and by that I mean I want it to be like still a little shiny, and I'm gonna end up going back and throwing some shine in. The problem is these people put like a ridiculous amount of nicks in the handle, which means I kind of have to work around that. Grab a little bit more black for in the middle of the rust spots. A tiny bit of red. Now, since the top wouldn't necessarily be dripping, I'm just going to put buildup around it. And believe it or not, I'm not mad at brush strokes here because it kind of adds to the idea that somebody's tried to clean it but has just failed miserably. But these people put like all of these nicks in this front, which means I kind of have to work around those and incorporate them somehow. There we go. Usually the rust spots are connected, at least from what I've seen they seem to be. So I'm gonna kind of vaguely connect the more rusty spots like such. See, that already just looks better. Now for the fun part. What do you mean the fun part? I'm just gonna ploop some red on here. My goal is to make it kind of vaguely look like it's kind of stained on. Not necessarily that it's fresh, more so that it just has been used so much that now there's just blood stains on it and it's not going away. Which is why I'm using a much darker red. And I think I'm going to also do a fun thing on the handle where it looks like blood has soaked into the handle a little bit too. But I'm going to use the slightly larger brush for that. Don't drip on my desk. How dare you? How dare all of you? Yes. We're going to use this little bit of red that's over here still. And we're just gonna try to make it look vaguely like somebody who has had blood in their hands for quite some time. Just kind of keeps grabbing it. And so like right around the handle area, right around where the hand would grab, I'm just gonna put red. And then we're gonna wipe a little bit of that away, because that's a little obnoxious. That's a little bit much. Yeah. And we're just gonna build up a little bit more of a layer of red. Like this time a little bit more. There we go. Like somebody gets blood on their hands consistently and just keeps grabbing it. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So the problem is, I cannot do any dry brushing until it is dry. Yeah. What I'm debating on though, because I never have any luck with dry brushing. Every time I try to dry brush, something goes wrong, and it always looks weird. What I'm debating on is if I want to instead just kind of manually go in and add some of the red and add some white highlights, which I think is what I'm going to do, because it will be easier. Well, it won't be easier. It will be easier for me because I'm bad at dry brushing. It won't generally be easier, but it will just be easier very specifically for me. There was no paint on this brush before I put it in my mouth, just so you're aware. I'm using this to wet it because my water jar is black, and I don't feel like getting up and getting more water for such a small amount of things. So, the goal is to kind of just bring out wood grain a little bit more. Add a little bit of variation. I promise you it does not look that white in real life. I don't know what is up with this art camera and like oversaturating or undersaturating literally everything. And I don't want to go overboard because, again, I don't want this to look new. I just want a small amount of variation within the wood grain. Which is also kind of why I chose this over attempting dry brushing. because dry brushing can be a little bit overkill, especially on something that's supposed to be natural like wood. Meaning, if you use dry brushing on something that's supposed to kind of look... Dry brushing looks great on things that are supposed to look like metal or stone or things like that, but something like wood that is supposed to be porous and not really massively shiny, it can be overkill. That's also why I'm going back over the white with literally just some of the darkened water. Not adding any extra pigments other than the darkened water. That way, while there is still going to be variation, it's going to be much less. It's going to dim the contrast a bit, as it were. There we go. There we go. I do not want the red on the tips to be quite as chunky, so we're gonna lightly dab some of that off. Also, the light dabbing makes it look slightly more natural and less streaked. There we go. Let me just go over the handle like that too. There we go. Neat. Anywho, that is that. Nice, quick, easy, simple. The only thing now is the other side, which is exactly the same. So if you feel like doing something similar to this, all you really need is white, brown, dark red. I mean, you can use regular red and just darken it with black. They just had dark red, so I got dark red. Black and silver paint and some water, napkins, a random array of paintbrushes that you see fits, depending on how detailed you want to get with the rust. And know that I could do more. But in the end, I'm kind of using this as a substitute for a prop that I have yet to make. And thus, here we are. My main problem is that I need to figure out how to take the axe head off of the axe that I have. Or the hatchet that I have. Actually, I might not even need to do that. Given how dull that hatchet is, I might just be allowed to take it. I would have to find out. Anyways. If you guessed who I is going to be, let me know. If you did not guess who I is going to be, well, I guess you're just going to have to stick around and see what shorts and stuff come up, and then you will find out who I is going to be. Because the convention is literally like this weekend. We are like a day away from the convention. So, that's kind of why I needed to hurry up and get this done. So, anywho. I hope you enjoyed watching me weather this axe, and I think it looks significantly better. Yeah. There's a before, and there's a after. I mean, it's not a complete after, obviously, but before and after. Anywho. Toodaloo.